Hey Shane, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Do you mind if I go to the bathroom real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Alright, I'm back.
Mhm.
Yeah, before we start, I wanted to ask, are we staying here till 3 or 3:30?
Um, yeah, I could do it until 3:30 if you can.
Okay, okay. I don't know if we're I don't know. I'm not sure what if
Uh,
we're gonna be here that long, but I just wanted to put it till 3:30 and I'll just
sure.
okay.
All right. So it's
Yeah, so I started a little late last week on the content diagnostic, but I finished all of them.
okay.
Um,
We
and I've been just kind of like reviewing them and whatnot. And I just wanted to get a couple input like questions before I wanted to go through it. And if anything, I wanted to see if we can do cars as well today or get a little start on it. I wanted to watch one of your videos, but I didn't have much time, but
yeah.
we'll
So we haven't done cars together yet, right?
yeah, we've never done cars.
Got it.
But I know you have a lot of videos on your channel, but yeah, I just haven't had a chance to get to them.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, so I've kind of noticed for a lot of the things, I've like there's like questions and I'm like I kind of I feel like a lot of my content is, I think the best way to put it, and we gone over it like last class, it's just kind of like a skeleton, but it's really fragile.
Yeah.
So what I've essentially done with a lot of the diagnostic, I've kind of like looked through the question, and then for example the CP, I wrote down every section from all the questions that it asked me,
Yeah.
and it kind of just made like this master checklist, depending on like if it's physics, a lot of it is physics. So I
Yep.
put like a red dot and I was like, all right, I'm really bad at this. And my plan going forward now, hopefully I finish this review by the end of this week. I'm thinking once I finish this, the plan, I know you wanted me to do the section bank, but I was rather like kind of thinking, I found this like online course thing. It was pretty cheap. And they have like a lot of questions for each of the sections. And I was thinking of reviewing it and just each day, like going through all those sections one by one and just doing as many practice questions. And that's kind of like the goal. Like, for example, Monday, I don't know, Monday would be electrochemistry because I don't feel too comfortable with it, and do as many questions as I can and really understand it to the most that I can. Um, that is a plan going forward. And then I was gonna just do the
What
specific.
what about UWorld?
Yeah, so that's what I was like I don't mind buy like I can buy that, but it's only just been recent that I like finished it, and I
Yeah.
was wondering maybe if I should give it a little bit more time before we start that.
Oh, so sorry, I forgot that. I'm just looking at my notes from when we met
Yeah.
the 11th, and I guess I didn't write down that you've done so you've completed all of UWorld, you said, right?
Not like I've done like 70% of the U world, but I've done it like twice. Like the other time, the first time I did it, I practically did all of it except the cars, and then the second time I only did 70%.
Uh-huh. And so what's this company that you're using now?
Yeah, it was like this. I mean, I don't think it's a company, but it's the guy's name's like Chad's Prep or something. Chad's
Oh,
Prep.
yeah, that's fine. So okay. So yeah, I think that with the what you're saying, if I go to the see what I'm sharing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So this is your, you know, study schedule and everything, right? So yeah, for each of these, you just want to strike through whichever things that you've done.
Okay. Yeah, I forgot to do that. My bad.
Okay. But I took the aamc content outline and I turned it into spreadsheets, into these tabs. So what you're telling me about like, identifying content subject areas, you could use this because this is straight from the AMC. So it tells you exactly what is expected of you to know on the test. So this is the CP content. And you can kind of go through like, this drop down menu to say like, so for instance, from that content diagnostic, let's say that you found like, I don't know, thin lenses or real and virtual images. you found out to be difficult, you can just, I know it's like default weak, but you can have it weak and then like the other things, or as you learn more about it, you can make it, okay or strong. So this way, uh, it's already what you're doing with in terms of like the content areas, but this way it's just straight up from the AMC, so you know that it's fair game.
Okay, that's a good idea too. Seems more specific too than what I wrote. And then I'm wondering, so the mistake I did last time, right? I think we went over it. I just want to go over it again, clarify. I used to just make a bunch of just Anki cards and all the stuff that I got wrong. So I think maybe this time instead you said to write it on the Excel sheet, and then I guess like periodically I would just kind of look through them.
Well, there's nothing wrong with, making Anki cards for the ones that you get wrong. It's just that that mostly works. So like Anki mostly works for like content stuff. So like if you got like a math or physics question wrong or some calculation question wrong or something like that, the Anki isn't going to help too much. But if you got some content stuff wrong, uh, generally speaking, that could be like biochem metabolic pathways or psych soc, then I think that would be a good idea. I mean, that's what um I did when I was reviewing my tests, my practice tests when I was taking this exam. Um, but how do you feel like that is helping you?
What specifically, the cards or the diagnostic molecule? Module.
Oh, the cards?
Um, from my experience, at least when I did like there's a deck called the Pancake deck, which is for like Psych Soc from Reddit.
Sorry.
I
Sorry, I mean the cards that you made.
Oh, the cards that I made, honestly, a lot of times I definitely think that I went the wrong approach, and I think what you I didn't I think I did a lot of just like copying the question down and just making a card, and it just got to the point where I'm like
I mean, like as long as
whatever. So
you're still reviewing the card. So here, I sharing now my Anki, like the Anki deck that I made for myself when I was reviewing. And you can see, like, for instance, like I have like, a way of remembering the amino acids, the catalytic efficiency, difference between enantiomers, diastereomers. Um, I actually should have one that should be wrong answers, but I'm not sure. It's not. But these would be the types of path cards that I would make. And you can see how there's stuff that, like, for instance, the mesoderm, right? There's so many things that can come from that. It's hard to like that's just something that you generally have to memorize, endoderm as well. So those are the things that I put in you know, Krebs cycle, like what you get, three NADHs, etc. And a lot of it was stuff on Psych Soc as well. So you could see a lot of these are observational versus meta-analysis versus phenomenological, all of that stuff I have a lot of. So um
okay. Yeah, it seems you did a lot different. Yeah, I typically what I did was I just whatever question wrong, I just kind of copied and pasted it honestly onto the tool deck. And um sometimes I just again I told you like I just got it just gets overwhelming when I'm doing practice questions and all that, and I really want to again like prevent that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. So I would say to when you review your that question to
okay.
write down in your own words what you have rather than just the question because you know they're not going to ask like the same question more than once, so you want to be able to uh put things into your own words and stuff.
Okay. That sounds good.
So yeah, you could see like granulocytes, neutrophils, eosinophils, all that stuff is like so hard to memorize. So that's why I make cards for that. Polyfunctional amino acids, electron withdrawing groups and stuff. And yeah, things like that. But a lot of it, uh, is psych social terms and stuff, but
Mm,
ultimately just generally things that you would have to memorize. So if it's a topic that involves like, under like knowing content, then Anki will certainly help. But in terms of reviewing your stuff, you could do the thing where in the spreadsheet, um, okay. So it doesn't have to like be this one, but like for instance, I have some tabs left over from like a different student of mine. And so you could see this column is, or this tab is like UWorld questions and the explanations for them. Um,
okay.
and then for the full lengths, the student also put down like, question topic, type of error, why did you get it wrong, how to correctly do it. And then over here, you can have graphs, images as needed, Anki, equations to know what the equations indicate. And you can see this person, copied and pasted this thing over here. So I think that this step you might be missing if you're just copying and pasting the uh, questions into Anki, meaning, you know, I think it would be good for you to be able to tell, okay, what, so like, did I guess this? Did I think that it was something else? Did I, you know, just not know at all? That will be the type of error. Why did you get it wrong? Like, did you like not use passage information? Did you use passage information? Did you use the wrong passage information? Do you have the wrong idea about something? And then how to correctly do it. And then if you make cards on this, you would probably put how to like the cards is how to correctly do it. But you see how that gives us a lot more information than just the question topic, because the question topic could be vague, pretty vague. Um,
Okay.
so for the Chad's prep thing, there's like what, like a question bank.
Yeah, so every section there's like I've like for example translation emotion at the end there's like almost like 20, 30 questions of just about that specific topic and it just goes down every single time you
What
review a new topic.
are they, like discrete questions?
They seem to be a lot of discrete questions. Yeah.
Got it, got it. So, and you find that that's useful in cementing the material that you're learning?
I haven't. I watched I've still been on the diagnostic modules. I watched like a little bit of the video. I've attempted a couple. I haven't really gone too deep, so I don't. I can't. I'm not sure if I can answer that question though. So I don't know yet. But I
Sure.
might have a better answer by next week if I see when I see you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, ultimately, what you're telling me is doesn't seem to be a big deal or anything like that, as long as, you keep to the schedule, essentially. You'll be,
You still feel that I should still continue? I just on top of this, I should probably do the section banks as well.
yeah. So once you're finished reviewing the Jack Weston content diagnostic, meaning, completely reviewing it, like reviewing it together as well, then you can start the section bank. And
Okay.
then after the section bank, we can have you start third party full lengths.
And should I just stick? I'm just gonna stick to doing volume one, right? No volume two, just this volume one section banks.
Section bank, yeah. Because once you get to phase two and phase three, it's like, you take your test, you find out what areas you're still getting questions wrong in. And then during the week, it's just well, for you, you don't have UWorld anymore. So maybe I would have to think about what to put there. But the idea with the UWorld is, or anything with a question bank, is that, like, let's say you take a test and you get like acid-base titration wrong, then you can use UWorld to make passages on acid-base titration. Whereas I think for the Chad's prep thing, you're kind of doing the questions as you're going along.
Hmm.
So yeah, so we would have to think about what to do for in between the practice tests once we get to that stage. Um,
Gotcha. So most likely you're not gonna make me do UWorld. Like you don't think I should.
oh no, no, no. I'm saying like UWorld is what I usually have people do between their practice tests because you get to
Yeah.
choose the topic and it shows you passage based stuff that uh so but like it doesn't seem like Chad's Prep lets you do that or any other resource that you have except for maybe I mean there's always Jack Weston, but I think that I guess we'll see what happens once we get to that point, but
Okay. That's fine.
generally I think it would be good for you to do UWorld. Even though you've done like 70% of it already, it's just that there's not a unless we can find better sort like other sources to do that kind of thing. But does it make sense like how like the UWorld I have it set up to be in between the full lengths?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. But I was just bringing up the point because I did it before, and that's why I was like, oh, like I would like to do it again. But I mean, if you suggest that it's not a good idea since I already did it before, yeah, that's what I was kind of just asking.
Yeah, I think that um unlike a lot of things, I think UWorld like this is okay to do it again because you're kind of starting from scratch anyway with the Jack Weston content diagnostic. So we really want to drill home those particular concepts, particular types of problems and stuff. So yeah, so yeah, we'll figure it out once we get to that stage, um but okay. So
Sounds good.
yeah.
All right, yeah, that was really the questions. All right, we'll just jump in. Give me a moment. I'm gonna open up we can start with the chemistry.
Oh, did you not want to do cars?
Um, Honestly, I was kind of wondering if we could just do the like start on the because because I'm working on the diagnostic right now. So like just reviewing that. What do you think?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Okay. And if we have time at the end, I mean, I'm down to starting on cars, but we'll see. If not, we can just meet again this weekend.
Yeah, the reason that I wanted to front load cars is just that then you get to practice what you learned.
Okay.
But
Trying to think.
it's okay. Your test is in March, so it's not like we have time.
Yeah. No, I'm just trying to think too. I mean, like I haven't finished going over all the topics, and it's only a couple questions really on CP. Maybe you know what? Actually, I think you're right. You know what? Let's do cars. Screw it. Let's do cars.
Yeah, yeah, just
Let's do
because
cars. Let's just
because
do cars.
because then you would get because I told you that I don't want you to be doing cars until we go over it together. Um,
Oh, okay, okay.
right? Maybe I didn't say that. I don't know. I'm getting, but generally that's what I tell my students. So, uh,
All right, then
yeah.
let's get
Now
into them.
then you can apply the strategies as you move forward.
Okay.
Hmm.
Just a couple things though. Yeah, just I don't think I mentioned to you about my cars. I don't think we went too deep into it. Yeah, I have like my experience, like I have done a lot of the Jack Weston passages in the past. So yeah, but I don't really remember a lot of them. But
Hmm.
hopefully not.
Got it. So are you pulling up
Oh, I thought I thought you were gonna pull it up or something. Okay, never mind. So you just want me to pick a random like Jack Weston
so
cars passage?
you did all the AMC car stuff?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Let's do um
Do you,
a
do you
Jack.
want me to pull it up or you're gonna pull it up?
What have you noticed any type of pattern in the types of cars passages you find to be particularly difficult?
Uh, it's been a while. I guess literature. Literature is something that kind of confuses me.
Okay.
Hard. Hmm.
Okay, here, I'm putting a link in the chat.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so let's scroll down a tiny bit so we can fit the entire passage.
Oh, you want me to, give me a second. How do I?
You don't have to zoom out, you can just scroll down.
Oh,
Yeah. Um, oh,
there we go. This should work.
okay. So let me explain to you what we're gonna do here. What we're gonna do is the number one thing to focus on is our arguments, okay? Arguments, other words for arguments are claims, assertions, ideas, hypotheses, opinions, you know, stuff like that. So we're going to be looking for what the argument is, um, who's making the argument, and what support, if any, is given to the argument. So I know you can't highlight in different colors on the test, but I'm going to be highlighting just for instruction purposes. I'm going to highlight the arguments, the new arguments in green. Um, Evidence, if there's any, in orange. There's not going to be evidence all the time. Um, and then there's something called contrast words, which are words like however, but,
Mm.
although, despite. And those, whenever you see those start a sentence off, I want you to acknowledge it. Like I want you to read it and then say, okay, contrast word. Because what that means is that anything that comes before the contrast word is different from whatever comes after. And what comes after the contrast word, not always, but a lot of times, um, would be close to the author's opinion. And that's what we're trying to find out. So I'm going to have
Could
you.
you say, could you
Sorry.
say that last part? So you said the author's opinion, the contrast. I didn't get that part.
Yeah, so maybe 40% of the time, a contrast word will be, you know, uh, right before something that would give you an insight about the author's perspective.
Okay. Okay. I see what you're saying. Like they're okay. I see what you're saying. The perspective, all right,
Yes. Now,
beforehand. Okay.
have you read out loud slowly, and after each sentence, tell me in your own words what they're saying. And a lot of times you'll get really verbose sentences with like multiple commas, so it's okay to break that up into like up to the first comma, second comma, etc. Okay.
Okay. The the great tradition is the tradition of the past. Those millions of great writers and storysmiths from all over the world throughout the ages, weaving their tales and enthralling their audiences. Um, I guess this sentence is introducing this tradition by their words, the great tradition by a couple of these writers, where a lot of them all come together and they start putting all of their ideas and tales to help display it to their audiences, I'm guessing.
Let's see, right? So the great tradition it's capitalized, so it's like a new term, so we want to be aware of that. What is the great tradition? It's a tradition of the past. And what is this saying about those millions of great writers and storysmiths from all over the world throughout the ages, weaving their tales and enthralling their audiences?
I guess it seems like it's introducing the great tradition and it's essentially a sort of merger with all of the writers from our entire times coming together and sort of interlinking all of their tales to showcase an audience.
Perfect. You did that perfectly, and especially when I said to put it in your own words, you used interlink, great job, great job. You completely understand what this is. Good. Perfect.
Some met with success in their own lifetimes, some not until long after their own deaths. That's an interesting sentence. Yeah, so kind of just says how I guess that sentence really showcases how some of these writers that are the interlinking with all of these different types of writers, right? Some of them were lucky enough to find success with what they wrote and they got a cool audience and whatnot. But sometimes you have other cases with writers who didn't really get that appreciation until they died.
Mhm.
However, contrast word, like you said, they were treated and whatever color or gender they happen to have been, God bless them, they're dead.
Okay.
Uh, however, yeah, wait, hold up. However, they were treated and whatever color, gender they happen to have been, God bless them, they're dead. Okay. So it seems that I guess the sentence is showcasing that they're how do I say this? Who they were, like who they were and what color and whatnot wasn't really it was really focused on the work itself and not really on who they were, I'm guessing. I think that's what the sentence means.
So okay. So this great tradition describes all the writers that have ever existed that play a role in, I guess, modern writers. And that some of these people were successful in their own lifetimes, but some of them not after their own deaths. And then it says, however they were treated, meaning like it doesn't really matter how they were treated. Ultimately, they're dead, I guess.
Okay. But I'm kind of confused. Why are they trying to say that sentence? See how that links with everything else.
Yeah, we don't know yet, and it seems a little callous to say.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Hopefully they explain that, I guess.
yeah. So now what we do is, since we finished the paragraph, we're gonna write this thing on the side. That's gonna be like just us jotting down what the argument is for, like, the paragraph. So what can we write?
Yeah, so I guess we can write great tradition, uh, essentially defined as merging of writers from at all times of like throughout life and their stories, I guess. And then, oh, look, I feel like I didn't explain that well. Yeah, so the Great Tradition defined as a time period of all of these writers coming together and all of their tales showcased to audiences.
Okay.
And these people, like, it sees, yeah, some of them might have been successful and some of them might not have been. So,
So I wrote
yeah.
C, writers of the past interlink. Some were successful during life, some were not. And then regardless, they're dead. So,
Oh, okay.
yep. Hmm.
Okay. Hopefully through time I can simplify like you did.
Oh no, that's exactly what you said. So,
Okay. So you want to start the next paragraph? Okay. Their books fill the shelves of our stores and libraries. We writers read their words often when we do not have the courage to write our own. Interesting. So I think in this sentence, it probably showcases we kind of learn something about the author, I guess. I guess the author's a writer.
so be careful about saying anything about the author. Um, because like I know it says we writers, but let's just be a little careful because they could mean like he could mean like, like the royal we, you know what I mean? Like that.
Not quite sure.
If I was like, okay, like, um, it's like if you said like, okay, if you want to get a high score on the MCAT, you should do this. Like, I'm not specifically talking about you in particular. I'm just saying like you like in general. So, but okay, let's say that we have some, idea, I guess, that the author is perhaps a writer. That's fine. That's fine. So, okay.
So
So,
you believe that right now we should not assume at all that it's a writer, or we should?
um, I think it's fine to make that assumption now. But yeah, I think it's fine. So, what are we saying in this sentence?
So typically the sentence says that sometimes there are situations when writers feel like they can't write a story and whatnot, and they kind of use
Hmm.
a you kind of use the past stories and whatnot that they introduced the concept earlier, right? The great tradition as a way to uh yeah, just to be able to read their work when they feel like essentially to be able to read their work when they feel like they cannot do it, they can't do their own work, essentially. We have them constantly in mind. I think that kind of just seems to emphasize the point from before.
Hmm.
We talk about their writing, love their words, their plots, their characters, pilfer their turns of phrases, sometimes wishing we were them, those great dead writers. Okay. Wishing we were them, those great dead writers. Yeah, and I think this sentence kind of also, not kind of, but showcases that they also, these writers look back onto the past because it gives them this, how do I say this? This motivation, gives them like motivation, inspires them, I guess, looks back on them. I think that's what I'm kind of getting from it.
So, say that one more time.
Yeah, I think the last sentence seems to say that these writers sort of look back on these past writers because it gives them like inspiration and it motivates them to be that writer. Because earlier it said that like when they do it because when in points when they don't have the courage.
Hmm. So I wrote that the above is everywhere, and I got that from the books fill the shelves of our stores and libraries, as well as we have them constantly in mind. So I take that to mean that the great tradition, writers are everywhere. Writers use them when they can't write their own stuff. Um, and that we wish that we were them, the dead writers. So now, um, I kind of understand like what I thought was like a little callous in the first paragraph. Now it's kind of like, saying like all these great writers happen to be dead, but you know, the person's not really making light of the fact that they're dead, just the fact that the dead ones are so important today and living today, I guess. But
Okay, so to kind of recap what you said, like essentially what earlier what they're saying essentially is they might be physically dead, but their work is not dead.
uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay.
So each artist, regardless of medium or genre or style, who has created before us should be of use. I'll read that one more time. Each artist, regardless of medium or genre or style, who has created before us should be of use. Okay. I think the sentence just showcases that whatever work was done before should always be considered. Shouldn't just be considered like if it's just a past, we can't use it anymore. We should always continue to consider what was used in the past.
Yeah, right. So it doesn't matter what type of artist you are. If you have made things before us, you're useful.
Mm, okay.
I'm thinking a lot of like standing on the shoulders of giants, that kind of phrase.
Okay.
Have you ever heard that?
No, quite.
So it's
Like
like,
the like a
what's up?
yeah, go ahead. Sorry. I was gonna say something, but I just realized maybe it's not. I don't think that's what it is. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so there's a saying that says, if you stand on the shoulders of giants, you can see like far or whatever, and it basically means that you are able to reach such a great height literally by because of those who came before you.
So it's kind of like it's a flight to the past, I guess.
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
We each have a responsibility to read and see and hear as much as we can.
All right.
Okay.
It's funny because when I was thinking of that quote, I was thinking of Isaac Newton, and I just looked it up, and it's actually from Isaac Newton.
That sentence? Really?
No, the shoulder of giants. So I put it in the chat. So standing on the shoulder of giants is a metaphor that means using the ideas of those who came before you to make progress.
It's pretty cool. Wow. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, and then this is the Isaac Newton who wrote in a letter to another scientist. If I had seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants.
You explaining that his ideas were built on the work of those who came before him. Gotcha.
And it's funny because when I
Interesting.
was trying to think of an example of that quote, I was thinking of Isaac Newton because it's like Einstein couldn't have been Einstein without Isaac Newton, right? And Isaac Newton couldn't have been Isaac Newton if it weren't for like the alchemists and stuff who came before. So that's the idea. So anyway, sorry. So you were
That was interesting. Okay. Yeah, so the next sentence after we should be of use, we each have a responsibility to read and see and hear as much as we can. It seems the author is emphasizing the importance of looking back into our past as a way for us as to get as much as information and understand what it was like then. Um, 1 year, a writer may find a certain style of writing most helpful and inspiring. The next year, she will undoubtedly be embracing other styles and forsaking those she once found so necessary. Okay. So I think this sentence means there's sort of a learning phase, I guess. It's like one time you might read something like, oh, wow, this is amazing. But then the next time you might go through a period of, okay, maybe this is not really, maybe that really wasn't as helpful and gather onto another style as it says. Not to worry. What is important is that as we work to develop our artistic muscles, we should embrace the great tradition warmly and thoroughly, reading Mr. Aristotle and Mr. Soyanka, enjoying Miss Stein along with Mr. Williams, immersing yourselves in Mr. Shakespeare as well as Miss Shang. So I think here what author's trying to say is what a writer might find important might be changing, but that's okay. That's because of the fact that's a good thing, it seems, from their terms. It's because they're learning. They're learning. They're going to the past. They're learning what they're learning what the past is like, and that's influencing them in different ways. So I guess that's what it's trying to say.
yeah. Um, and it's funny too, because when I was thinking about the Newton thing, I was thinking like, okay, Aristotle must have, influenced him. But yeah, okay, so here we're saying that okay, we regardless of the type of art, uh we want to if it's made before us, we should use it. And sure, it could be like 1 year, a writer might find a certain style of writing or, author to be super good, like helpful and inspiring. Next year, they might forsake that and find some other style that they like. Ultimately, though, because we said not to worry, ultimately, what is important is that we just develop our artistic muscles. And that means to embrace the great tradition. And now we finally have some examples. So I'm going to highlight these in orange. So, because that's now support for the what's meant by, so it's like, okay, the argument is we should embrace the great tradition. What does that mean? It means to look at artists who came before us. Yeah, but like who? Anyone? And then we have examples: Aristotle, Stein, Williams, etc.
Mm, okay. Okay. I see what you did there. Okay.
So for this paragraph,
And mm,
yeah, so what should we put for this paragraph?
yeah, so it's important to look into the past writers as it allows us to learn what it was like before. And we should embrace, as you said, embrace the great tradition. And then a couple of the examples was shown.
Each artist of the past can help us. We should embrace the great tradition, for example, Aristotle, etc.
Okay.
Okay.
And cross fertilize or cross train, as they call it these days. There are more athletes today
Oops.
than farmers. Novelists and those in the novel corner read the poets and the playwrights. Playwrights and theater professionals read the novelists, and so on.
Hmm.
Interesting. So I guess this sentence means, right? Just don't just focus on writers, right? Like we can kind of go on to different avenues of different fields,
Mhm.
and they kind of give us an example of the athletes. There are more athlete. No, I don't know. Like not like going into like looking at novelists or just looking at different playwrights. I think
Mhm.
that's what that sentence means. Read okay, yeah. Read different styles, it says.
Yep.
No need to snub a writer because she's not similar to you in color, gender, or age. No need to snub a writer because she's not similar to you in color, gender, or age. Yeah, so don't try to, I guess, when you're going through this information and going into the past, like don't consider their color, gender, age. Like really just look at their work itself. I think that's what that sentence means.
Yeah, I'd say,
Writings,
oh yeah, I'd
yeah,
say
sorry.
a little bit more than that. I would say that don't think that it's not going to help you if they're not the same
Mm,
color or gender or age as you.
okay, that was a good way. That was a better way.
Mhm.
Writing styled differently for my own can teach me too. There is no need to wrinkle my nose at a kitchen sink drama or a potboiler novel just because its lines seem far from mine.
All right.
And I think this, oh, sorry.
Yeah, what were we going to say?
Yeah, I think that sentence just showcases, it's just trying to say that there's no work. You're not better than any other work, right? It's you can you can learn from a lot of things that you think that you might not learn from.
Yeah, and now what we see now we're going to see something here that's very rare. And you did catch it up here with we writers. So whenever the author explicitly states something like my own opinion, or in this case, writing styled differently from my own,
Oh,
teach me too, right? So the author is explicitly stating this now. So this is a rare thing to see. We're not going to see this often, but it's called author's opinion.
okay, I see what you're saying. Okay.
And that's pretty much like the most important thing to that you'll see, because ultimately you're trying to get, an idea of what the author's argument is. So, yeah. So I think it was great that you caught on to that in the second paragraph with we writers, right? And now
Okay.
that we're cementing it by saying from, writing style differently from my own can teach me to, there's no need for to wrinkle my nose at this type of thing or this type of thing just because it seems different from me.
Mm,
So I'd say like whatever.
okay.
These could be examples, but you know. So okay, what can we say for this paragraph?
This paragraph? Yeah, so we can also, I guess this paragraph is talking about that as writers, we can gather information from other fields as well. We don't have to be strictly just to writing. Right? We can go, for example, playwrights or theater professionals or novelists or whatnot. So
So I wrote
different styles, different styles. There we go, different styles. Yeah.
cross fertilization, read different styles to improve, and then improved my writing to AO author's opinion.
Okay. So I guess in this thing, so could we also add like the author already said this. I probably already said this. So the author's opinion also adds on to the, I guess, the argument as well, right?
Yeah, it can serve as support for an argument.
Okay.
Yep.
Everyone, everyone, listen to the music. Mr. J.S. Bach and Miss E. Fitzgerald and countless others can teach us as much about phrasing, rhythm, rhyme, and the breath as Mr.
Sorry.
Euripides can. Music inspires all literature. Okay, now I guess the author is talking about something, another different type of field, I guess, music,
Mhm.
and how I guess maybe it's more support to the previous couple things that she's talking, or he or she is talking about, how music can also be another thing that can help influence literature as well.
Now,
That's what I'm getting.
so what profession do you think Euripides is?
Based on the paragraph, I'm thinking maybe music, because
So read that quote closely, right? So we have so Bach is music, right?
Mr. J.S. Bach and Miss E. Fitzgerald and countless others can teach us as much about phrasing, rhythm, rhyme, and the breath as Mr. Euripides can. Music inspires all literature. Okay, so I guess he's a he's a makes literature, I guess, Mr. Euripides.
Yep. Like, do we agree that Bach and I guess that's Ella Fitzgerald are musicians?
Yeah.
So, and it's saying that these musicians can teach us as much about these things as this Euripides guy can, right? So
Hmm.
Euripides guy is probably a writer who can teach you about writing things like techniques like phrasing, rhythm, rhyme, and breath, right? But you can learn that from musicians as well.
Mm. Okay.
So for this, we could say music in parentheses, Bach can teach us about phrasing, rhyme, breath as good as a writer can. You know, maybe in parentheses, I would have put like Euripides or whatever. And that music inspires all literature. So, okay. So are you starting to see any type of theme?
Yeah. I think the theme seems to be the importance of the past and the importance of all mediums which can influence writing.
I like how you said all mediums. Because in the first two paragraphs, it was like all time periods. Um, but starting with the third paragraph, where it says, you know, regardless of medium or genre or style, and then the next
Mhm.
paragraph, cross fertilization, read different styles, and then this paragraph, music can teach you about literature. We're starting to see that we're trying to say exactly what you said. So,
Okay. The great tradition is an enormous sledgehammer that comes with very few operating instructions.
okay.
Interesting. I think that sentence just means, I'm quite sure. I think I'm gonna read the next one to see if I can get that. Many writers use the hammer incorrectly, grasping it firmly by the handle. We always get the first step right, and then horror, hitting ourselves over the head with it. I guess the way sometimes some people might use these writers and whatnot from the past, possibly in the wrong way.
Okay.
Okay. Or as a student of mine said once, I don't write as well as Dostoevsky. So what's the use? The use, it makes you the writer you are, whether you know it or not. Okay. So I think here, our author introduces the idea that some people seem to use it in the wrong way, but in the wrong way, and then he kind of gives an example, actually, his own example, it seems. I don't, for example, a student of mine, I don't write as well as Dostoevsky, so what's the use? Um, even though essentially that even though they're better than you, I feel like you can still get something from it, can still shape you in some way.
Perfect. Or a GT Sledgehammer, you may not write as well as Dostoevsky, but you could still learn from it. And then I liked how you said it shapes you in some way. Uh, that's even better. So perfect. Great job.
Okay.
And also
Inside,
now that this author, in addition to being a writer, is likely some type of professor.
oh yes, I was gonna ask the professor, but I realized it said student, so that kind of makes sense. Inside every great work of literature, inside every theatrical production that has moved and amazed us, there we all were and are, conceived within its every line and gesture.
Okay.
The great tradition is like your great grandmother who was born with the seed for you deep inside her. As be a John Henry with the sledgehammer, build a railroad. I see. So yeah, I think this paragraph emphasizes how important the author thinks that the great tradition is. That it's like I guess it's kind of like the trees of the past. Like when we think about a medium, it can be like a tree, and like the whole tree has all of these roots and stuff.
Mhm.
And we need to go back onto that. Like that kind of helps us see something. And through that we can kind of create something new. I think
Mhm.
that's what it's kind of talking about.
Yep, or GT is what makes you, like grandma with the seed thing, and that you can use the hammer properly to make a railroad, for example, John Henry, more so to make something new. All right, make something new. So good job.
Okay. The personal tradition, aka the individual talent,
Now this is
springs,
different term now, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, springs from the writer's own life story, the sum of all her years on earth. Okay. So I guess, yeah, as you said, they're introducing this new idea. Apparently, it means everything that they've done in their life till their death.
Yeah,
It
and
is blended. Oh, sorry.
new term.
Personal tradition, aka the individual talent.
Yeah, new term rather than, I mean, this, sure, it's a new idea here as well, but the personal tradition is just a new term.
Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. Because we had great tradition earlier. Okay. It is blended with the great tradition, making you the writer who you are, making the writer you are. The people she has seen and not seen and seen in her head, and all the things she has heard and felt, and all the things she has not heard and felt. Everything she has ever done, longed to do, or has never done or longed for, the smells, the psychic experiences, the books she has read or not read, all this is grist for the writer's personal mill. Well, that was a lot. Uh, hmm. So the author is introducing this new term, as you said, the personal tradition. And in the personal tradition, it is essentially the aspects and the work of an individual writer. But then the author kind of says how like that is actually a part of the great tradition. And whatever she sees, whatever she experiences in this life are things that actually get added on through her work to the great tradition. So,
So, or a PT, own life story, plus GT make you the writer that you are,
okay.
right?
Well,
What do you think?
yeah. Yeah, I don't think I ever I kind of like I remember in the past I would kind of go here and there, but I don't think I've ever actually gone like this
Uh-huh.
deep. Like I feel like I understand it a lot better compared to the past when I
You
read a passage.
see how the highlights kind of function as a pseudo map. So like, uh, but now, if so, okay, so now that we've read the passage and wrote out things for each paragraph, now what we do in order to, so a main idea, so what constitutes a main idea? I want you to use this definition, an argument that's in more than one paragraph. Okay.
I'm so sorry, could you explain that one more time?
Sure. So now we're going to look through what we wrote for each paragraph, and we're going to look for repeated arguments. Okay. So for
Repeated arguments.
Yep. So for instance, paragraph one, we said the great tradition is something in which, it's the all the writers of the past that you can link with. Um, Paragraph two, again, we can use the great tradition to help us with our writing and stuff. And then three, each artist of the past can help us, doesn't matter what type of artist they are. Paragraph four, cross fertilization, read different styles. So, okay, different types of artists, different types of artist styles, right? And then paragraph five, again, different type of artist, right? Musician can teach us about writing as much as, a writer can. And then we say that it shapes you and it shapes you,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm.
And again, it shapes you. So what we can now say for our main idea could be what?
The great tradition, uh, the past can influence the writer who you are today, the type of writing that you do today. That
Yeah.
all the past mediums can influence the writer that you are today.
So but GT, main idea, GT shapes you as a writer, whether you realize it or not,
Mm. Okay.
right? Because I got the you know, whoops. So how do you feel about the main idea here?
Duty shapes you as a writer, whether you realize it or not. Well, I mean, couldn't we also say all the different mediums? Because isn't the great tradition only specifically for the writers, right?
So um yeah, so I mean it includes the all the other types of artists, but I could include that in the map. So let's see. Um Regardless of the type of artist.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so now I want you to take a screenshot of the passage with all the highlights and this map that we wrote on the right with the main idea and all the stuff that we wrote for the paragraphs.
Without the wait. So what do you want me to just the paragraph, the stuff on the right?
No, 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 the entire passage and all the stuff that we wrote on the right. Yeah.
Okay.
So now you'll have that saved and, moving forward, when you do your own work, you can kind of see the how we write this all out. So now what I'm going to do is block the passage.
Okay. Go to the where did I- Can I go to this one?
Are you trying to do?
No, I was just trying to make your picture because it was blocking the questions, but yeah.
Oh, is it still?
Oh boy. Yeah, 1 second. Actually, no mind. Oops. Okay, yeah, that's fine. We're good now. We're good now.
Sometimes I block out the choices too.
Ooh, okay.
So, question: when you do cars, usually is it that you read through the passage too quickly and then you read the question and then you reread?
To be honest, like I I remember I was averaging 121, and then like that last week, I feel like I kind of figured something out. I started really like talking to myself more, and every time I went through the passage, I kept like
Yep.
screaming in my head, "What's the argument? What's the argument? What's the argument? What's the argument?"
Good, good, good.
Um, but I felt like at that point it was just a little too late for me to really get better at that. So
Got it. Okay. So let's try this one.
suppose the author were asked to advise an aspiring writer on how best to improve her craft. Based on the passage, the author would probably recommend. Yeah. So from what we just talked about, I think the author would probably advise that person to just really look at different from the past, like all the writings in the past, like all the writings from the past, and also look at different mediums as well to get this like inspiration or whatnot,
All
to
right.
get an understanding.
Good. So now we have an idea of what to look for, and now we're going to be less susceptible to the wrong answers.
Mhm.
And I want you to start from A and, evaluate that.
Okay. So A says ignoring criticism of your work as you develop your own style. Based on the passage, the author would most likely recommend ignoring criticism of your work as you develop your own style. Uh, I don't think so, because the author never really talks about criticism or anything on that field. So I'd like to say no.
You could say out of scope here.
Okay. Out of scope. Okay. Writing as much and as often as you can. I think again, this kind of goes back to you gotta go like just we gotta find an answer choice that talks about going to the past. So I don't think that would be it too. Reading all of the works of just the writers that inspire you. Again, that's again a very limiting answer choice. So I don't like that one either. So
Contradiction.
yeah, I think we're just
So
I
you,
like that. Yeah, that's a good word. Contradiction.
yeah, because I want you to be able to not just, so like there's like three things. I don't want you to just be able to tell what's the right answer. I want you to be able to tell the wrong answers, and I want you to be able to tell why the wrong answers are wrong. And so there's reasons for that I'll kind of show you. One of them is contradiction. So that's when the passage information directly contradicts, you know, the choice.
Okay. Yeah, screenshot that.
Huh?
Okay. Sorry, did not mean to do that.
And
So
then
yeah, I guess reading the work of many different authors, yeah, that kind of it
that's
seems to be very similar to what we said.
that's exactly what you said. Yep. So
Okay.
do you see how like being able to just have the question stem in front of you lets you like really like kind of like first of all understand what they're asking and then also like lets you kind of like digest it and come up with your own answer without having to go through the choices. So good job.
Yeah, sometimes I think from my experience too, the answer choices, if we don't have an idea, they can also influence how we go about it too. So,
Yeah, exactly. It makes you more susceptible to the wrong answers.
mm. Okay, so I guess I'm gonna try to do that. Oh, did you do that again? Or I don't
Sometimes,
know how to block it.
some types of questions you can't really do that. Like which of the following? I mean, there technically you could do it, but
That's a good point. Okay. According to the passage, which of the following is common to all pieces of literature? Yeah, I guess I can't do it without the
so
answer choices.
if you
I
need to
mean,
go back
right?
if you need to go back to anything, go back to what we wrote.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
The following is common to all pieces of literature. All pieces of literature. Oh, styles? I'm not quite sure.
Which one?
The following is styles? Like which of the following is common to all pieces of literature?
Mhm.
Maybe the all the style like the different the
Do you see the word all
styles.
anywhere in the map in what we wrote? The word all. It's there.
All no. What's there?
Uh-huh.
Music inspires all literature.
Mhm.
Oh, yes, I guess they all transpose musical. Well, I mean, what we wrote there said music inspires all literature.
Mhm.
They all stay in our minds. I don't, that the answer choice isn't talking about music. D, they all reflect the work of other artists. Again, that doesn't seem to reflect music from what the passage wrote. They all transpose musical performances. They kind of just talked about rhythm, not really performing. That seems a little too specific. So I guess it's B. They're all impacted by music.
Yeah, because inspires and impacted, same thing. Could also use the word influence, right? So,
Mm,
but so yeah, this would be like a tougher question to ask when I blocked out the choices, but you still were able to do it. So
mm,
good job.
okay. When describing every artist, when describing every artist that precedes us as of use, the author seems to refer to our ability to, okay, paragraph 3. Each artist of the past can help us embrace great tradition, Aristotle. When describing every artist that precedes us as of use, the author seems to refer to our ability. Um, I think the way from that passage, from what I remember, the author was trying to talk about that the author seems to refer to our ability to essentially learn from people from the past. Yeah, learn from people from the past. Each part, they can help us in some way.
So
So I
I
guess,
I didn't specify it in what I wrote for paragraph three, so that can be um so when I wrote each artist of the past, do you remember what that was referring to?
yeah, I think they go like yeah, that was a paragraph that they introduced the like all those examples of all those artists that can influence a writer. And then there was a part that it was talking about some days you might be inspired by this person, and another person you might not be inspired at all the next day.
So
Something about that. Each artist, regardless of medium or genre or style, who has created before us should be of use.
mhm.
So the author seems to refer to our ability to essentially learn or gather information from
Mhm.
any type of medium.
Good.
So something, so answer choice, something talking about how we can learn from different types. A person will be able to learn from different types of medium.
Excellent. So yeah, I in my head I didn't put it down like that explicitly because I was thinking if I write each artist, that includes not just writers, right? Or musicians, but I could see how that's not going to be readily apparent like from just reading it. So that's why, yeah. Like I normally don't let people go back to the passage, but for this one it's just because I didn't make it as specific. Um so
Okay.
okay, what's our answer here?
So would you say like when it asks like questions like this, like, oh, like, I mean, I've seen the trend with this, like we got to go back, like of use, like you don't want us to even go back, even if they, unless like this is the only type of question where we can kind of put the exception of going back. Would you say that?
So ultimately there's two types of questions. There's a main idea question, which means the argument is in more than one paragraph, and then this is called a structure question, which means that it's in one paragraph. That helps us in ways because we know that the answer must be in that same paragraph. So if we see choices that are mentioning things in other paragraphs, you could eliminate those. Um, so okay, now to answer your question, the thing that we jotted down should always be if you need to go back to anything, you should always go back to that first. But
Okay.
in this case, because we're gonna write this stuff out in ways that make sense to us individually. So for me, I knew that when I wrote each artist, like prior to that, I just wrote writers, and then after that, I wrote musicians and etc. Right? So in my head, I
Hmm.
knew that each artist means regardless of the genre, but that was just
Okay.
because I wrote it and it made sense to me. So for you, you would have wrote something likely that said, from different genres, and in which case you wouldn't have to go back to the paragraph. I mean, back to the passage. So yeah, so if you need to go back to the passage,
Hmm.
go back to what we wrote down, our map. If
And
that's
then go back.
not enough, then you can go back to the passage. But you did generally want to not try to do that just because it can really set you astray. Um, but okay, so
Yeah, as you said, to use different mediums of the past to help us understand. So A says, imagine how these artists would receive our work. No, again, we're trying to find an answer choice that talks about going into the past and learning from these different types of medium, not about how what they would think. Be those other artists. So I don't think that's the answer choice.
mhm.
Be those other artists as competition to be overcome. Not quite. The other is kind of saying just like learn, not competition. So I think that's something we can take out. Be an audience for the work of those artists. Not quite. Again, keyword I think is just one of something to learn,
Mhm.
to gather information. So no. So yeah, I guess we're left with D, right? Apply the lessons from other genres of art to our own.
Mhm.
So obvious, yeah. So I think D would make a lot of sense.
Good.
All right, based on the description of authorship in the passage, which of the following occupations is most analogous to writing? Based on the description of authorship in the passage, which of the following occupations, I guess, is most analogous to writing? Okay, so we're trying to find an answer choice that is based on what we learned, authorship, similar to writing. Priest,
So
secretary, parent,
what are we
teacher.
looking for here?
Something that's like something like an occupation that is analogous to writing. And I guess in turn, like I think I think I forgot this, but I think I should remind myself. So yeah, so to really define in his terms is writing as being able to look back into the past and learn. So I
Yes,
guess we're trying to find an occupation that is looking back into the past and learning.
perfect.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I remember I would always get these
I
analogous
was
the
gonna
analogy questions wrong.
I
Yeah.
was gonna ask. I was gonna ask, yeah.
Yeah, those are I always got those right.
Mhm.
Priest, secretary, parent, or teacher.
Wait, did you say you always get them right?
I always get them wrong. A lot of times I get them wrong.
Okay.
Maybe sometimes I get lucky with a guess, but that's it.
For sure.
Uh, yeah, I think teacher would be the best answer choice here because you are learning from something and you're having to look back and learning from the past, I guess. I
Well,
don't know. I'm thinking about priest too,
well, the
but
the
then it's
the writing, right, is didn't we say that where it's about learning from the past? But a teacher teaches other people, not necessarily
yeah,
the past, right?
that's true. Damn, okay, I guess in this situation, I think priest would be a better answer choice then.
Because we're
Because
looking,
they are learning because they're learning that like let's say I don't know a Bible or something and they're learning from the Bible, right? And they're showcasing what they learned. No?
Yeah, so a priest, so we want to ask ourselves, okay, okay, what does because it says based on the description of authorship, what is most likely like closest to writing? We know from the passage that the writer is someone who's, influenced by those that came before them, and those that came before them have, they're dead, so they can't, it's not like they can meet them, but they can read their works and, be influenced by that. So, which of these choices involve, someone like reading the works of those who came before, right? So,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So the priest, like, I'm if it's like regardless of the religion, I mean, but if it's like a Christian, this is stuff from like 2000 years ago. If it's like a Jewish person, it's like 5,000 years ago. If it's like a Muslim person, it's like 1400 years ago. But that's there's a great tradition in that case, right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing it's priests. I think that's a good answer choice then.
Yep.
Okay.
Why don't you hit the solution button?
Sure. Whoa. Holy Lord.
So
I was like,
27% chose teacher, so you're not alone.
yeah, yeah, okay.
And 26% chose parent, but
Yes, I guess that's like the small distinction that yeah, it's funny because I think beforehand you asked me and then I explained what writing was and I was, no, it's teaching. So that's kind of funny. Okay, I catch myself. All right. According to the passage, personal tradition. Yeah, I'm gonna look at the answer choices. So again, personal tradition from what they said was uh we wrote how here own life story. So personal, we're trying to find an answer choice that talks about how personal tradition encompasses the experiences of the author himself and no, not really no one else. But also, they also said that it is actually becomes part of the great. It also blends, as they said, with the great tradition.
mhm.
So A talks about becomes more valuable as one gets older. No, again, the way the passage talked about was like they blend together, so I don't know about that. I don't think that's the answer choice.
Mhm.
Refers to the influence of one's relatives. No, again, I'm looking for an answer choice that talks about blending or experiences with themselves, so I don't think so. Is compatible with the great tradition. I like that. That's a good one. Is fundamentally opposed. No, again, as I said, blending. So yeah, I think C is better. C is pretty good. All right. Give the information presented in the sixth paragraph, which of the following statements could reasonably be inferred. So in the sixth paragraph, great tradition. Yeah, so in this paragraph, they're talking about the sledgehammer. Remember the author talked about Dostoevsky, child example, right? You may not write as well as them, but you can still learn and shape yourself in some way. So A says the great tradition makes writers better by convincing them they are bad at writing. Well, I'm gonna read that again. Two following statements could most reasonably improve. The information that we know,
So
great tradition makes writers better by convincing them that they are bad at writing. Kind of seeing a little bit, I feel a little iffy. Like I like the start of the sentence, but at the end, where it says them that they are bad at writing, I don't know about that.
uh-huh.
But I mean, right now, that's the only one I read, so I feel like that's okay. Dostoevsky is a member of the great tradition. Could be, but they do talk about great tradition and they use the context of like the author used example of the author his student using Dostoevsky as an example, so that could be it. In order to draw from the great tradition, one has to be willing to reject that tradition. I don't agree with that. That seems like a complete contrast to what they're saying.
Yep.
Students do not make for good writers. No, again, we learned that it's you can still learn and shape them in some ways. So I think C and D are out here. Hmm. The great tradition makes writers better by convincing them that they are bad at writing. No, I think I'm going with B here.
Yeah,
Dovetsky is a member there. It makes more sense because like I like the start of A, but it's not saying it's you can think of it as bad. Like you like the person can think, but like you can yeah, he never talks about like that it makes you feel who you are. It's always he always uses it in the context of you can learn something from it.
yeah. So and it also says by, right?
Mm.
If it says by, like let's just say makes writers better, let's say and convince them that they're bad at writing. But if they say by, it's saying that the great tradition, in order to make you a better writer, must convince you that you're bad at writing. That's the like mechanism by which it makes you a better writer. Like you need to
Mm.
that,
Okay,
right?
I see what you're saying.
But yeah. So, and this is a structure question, so it's specifically in paragraph 6. In paragraph 6, I wrote GT Sledgehammer, you may not write as well as Dostoevsky, but you can still learn from it slash shape you. So we're talking about the great tradition, and we're saying that Dostoevsky is someone that you can learn from, right? And
Mm.
that's what we said about great tradition people. They can be people that you can learn from. So Dostoevsky and an inference question, right? Do you understand like what that means exactly?
Yeah, I think from the information that we get from the passage, what kind of like
Yeah.
in I guess yeah, inference. Like what can we think? What can we think is possible, I guess.
Like what must be true?
What must be true? Okay, okay. Yeah, that's a better way to put it. Yeah, what must be true?
Yeah, it's like
So
I is studying for the MCAT, and therefore you can make an inference by saying that Psi is going to take the MCAT.
mm,
So
okay, makes sense.
and then you go from there. So yeah, they're saying,
It's
you
true.
know, that
What
this is
can be
a
true?
great tradition, and then they mention Dostoevsky you could learn from, therefore Dostoevsky is part of the great tradition. Yep.
So let's say for answer choice A, I guess like if they said the great tradition makes writers better by helping them shape who they are as a writer, like that would have been an answer choice then if it didn't say that, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Oh, I think I didn't put that.
Yeah, you could hit the solution for that too to see,
Sure.
and you can see how, oh well, okay, 14% chose A, but somehow 17% chose C, which is weird, but
In
whatever.
order to draw.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
that's odd.
Yep.
According to the passage, if a writer seeks to create a great new work, that writer should. Yeah, so again, if a writer seeks to create a great new work, that writer should, yeah, try to look into the past at different mediums and learn from it to be able to, yeah, just to learn from different mediums from the past. So I guess we're trying to find an answer choice that talks about mediums or styles of the past.
Mhm.
Still expect to draw from past authors. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Ignore the work of other authors? No, I don't think so. That's kind of contradicts everything. Study the work of writers who are not part of the great tradition. I don't like that answer choice because it's like I think it should have been maybe it should have been
Yeah, it's like
like
contradicted. It's the opposite.
yeah. Mhm. Draw inspiration from music instead of literature. So I'm between A and D, but I think A is better because it kind of encompasses all of the mediums. Because I feel like D is a little too like specific just to
Yeah,
one little instance. So I think A is better.
good. So like for this is a main idea question, D is only mentioned in one paragraph. So we could eliminate that for the reason of localization, it's called.
Localization. Okay.
Yeah. Same with if they were referring to like paragraph 6 and you see an answer choice that's like in paragraph 3, you could eliminate that for the reason of localization. But
Okay.
we'll see more of that as we go along. But Yeah, there you go. So how do you feel?
Wow, I feel good.
Yeah,
That actually felt really good.
yeah.
I don't even know when the last time I actually,
Uh-huh.
all these years I've been studying for the exam, I don't even think the last time I went through a passage where I actually felt like,
Uh-huh.
wow, like I felt like I actually like feel like I understood a lot of it.
Yeah. Because
Um,
I may have told you this, but like the number one thing that I saw students do with cars is they zoom through the passage way too fast, not really understanding it. They zoom through the question stem, oftentimes not even understanding the question stem, and then they frantically search through the passage for words that match words in answer choices. That's how most people do it. So that's why I block out the passage. So that's why two things, or a couple of things. That's why we go through the passage slowly, because like the perennial kind of paradoxical problem with like people studying for the MCAT is like, okay, how am I gonna have time to do this on the test? Right?
yeah,
But if it's like, but if you actually see that if you read through the passage too quickly and then you get to the questions and you have to reread the passage, you're ending up spending that extra time anyway, but you're still going to get a disjointed understanding of the passage. Whereas if you just spend that extra time on the passage itself the first time around, you can actually understand what the passage is, and you want to understand it so well that you can do what you did today, which is you could just be like, okay, it's about shaping you as a writer and improving yourself as a writer. If you learn from older artists of various different genres and mediums, like the fact that you were able to come out of the passage with that cogent, like cohesive understanding meant that we really didn't have to go back to the passage and you went to the questions and so like let's say someone spent like 50% of the time on the passage and 50% on the questions, you know, I would favor it to be more so like maybe 70% passage, 30% question, because if you don't have a good understanding of the passage, the questions you're not gonna it's not gonna help you with the questions because you're gonna have to reread, you're gonna get things wrong. So you want to make sure you get you understand the passage thoroughly, and then the questions shouldn't take too long. And we saw that today. So we saw that first of all that we had a thorough understanding of it, and you were doing a good job because you were kind of seeing the patterns right away. You were seeing the patterns of we should embrace the great tradition. You saw the patterns of various different, styles and genres and mediums or media. Um, so yeah, so you want to come out of the passage without you don't want it to be all disjointed. You want it to be
yeah.
a cohesive whole, and that's what's going to help you.
Mhm.
And you
Yeah, I
also
think sorry, I'm sorry, I cut you off there.
oh yeah,
Could you
and then also just how you were able. It was really good. I liked how you were able to uh put things in your own words because we didn't see it too much with this passage, but 90% of the time there's trap answer choices that just use exactly the same words in the passage, whereas a lot of right answer choices would simply use a different word. And so a lot of times people get things wrong because they just look for the same word that's being used in the passage, but it's usually not going to be the same exact word. It usually will be some other word. So it's good that you're able to put things in your own words. But yeah, what were you going to say?
uh I forgot what I said. I was gonna focus on what you're saying. Okay. Um
And
okay, the trap words. Okay. Yeah, I didn't yeah, so could
there's
you remind me or maybe like make an example of that so I can kind of like
there's also
visualize?
you also want to have like if you can have multiple reasons to for a wrong answer to be wrong and for a right answer to be right. Like for instance, here D, what's another reason D isn't going to be right here?
Okay. Well, I know I said one reason why it's kind of just in a certain segment and it doesn't encompass
Yep.
all the mediums. Uh,
What if it said the question stem said, paragraph 5? Then would D be good?
yeah, because it's from a specific instance, possibly.
Okay. Now, this is where cars shows subtlety, and therefore requires a very nuanced view here. So D,
Okay.
still not a very good choice, and it's because of something in it.
Well, I'm gonna read that answer choice again. Draw inspiration from music instead of literature. Oh, wait. Didn't say, yeah, yeah, instead of literature. Yeah, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah, it could say that you can draw inspiration from music, right? No one's gonna disagree with that, but it says instead of literature.
Hmm. I didn't see that. Okay.
And you can see here that it says
That's all literature.
these musicians can teach us as much as their Euripides guy. So people might think, hey, music is better to learn from than the writer of Mr. Euripides, right? It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't say,
Yeah.
but it says that it can teach us as much. It doesn't say that it can teach us more, right?
It's like the same equivalent, essentially.
Yep. So
Okay.
so you're going to get to the point where you're going to be able to know the right answer, well, to be able to come up with your right answer, know the right answer from the wrong, know the wrong answers, know why the wrong answers are wrong, and sometimes that can be multiple reasons, and then also trap answers. And like there wasn't any for this paragraph for this passage, um but you'll see them a lot in other passages. So
Okay. So a couple questions going forward. I'm thinking, yeah, oh, I remember from my question from my before.
yep.
Yeah, so the goal, I guess, right now, I guess the overall goal is hopefully getting to the point where I can finish the passages under 10 minutes. And I think in the past, I would kind of try to focus on accuracy, but then I'm like, oh, wait, it took me 20 minutes to get through this. It's not 10 minutes. And then I would just kind of revert to trying to always go under 10 minutes. And yeah, there was a situation where you talked about like frantically looking. So I wanted to see like, what do you think? How should I plan about getting to the point where I can get to like
So
10 minutes?
we want to we want to prioritize accuracy because if you're doing things timed and you're getting things, well, first of all, if you're doing things untimed and you're getting things wrong, doing it timed will just be worse, right?
Yeah.
And it'll be worse because meaning you'll get more things wrong likely. Um, but also worse in that you're kind of wasting the question or you're wasting the passage by doing it that way because if you don't get enough time to really figure out the main idea, to figure out how to answer the questions, and then you run out of time, and then you see your grade, and then you read the solutions. You kind of wasted it. So all of the timing stuff is going to be auto corrected once we enter into phase 2 and phase 3, which is when we do the practice tests, right?
Interesting.
The practice tests seem to, I mean, we might change it, but so far I see that your first practice test is going to be on November 23rd
Oh, wow. Okay.
because you're taking it in March, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to let you know too. I'm thinking of also doing like a checkpoint, like somewhere in mid Jan and Feb. I
Uh-huh.
mean, I'm applying next May 31st. So honestly, like worst case scenario, I can also extend my dates. So just want
Yeah.
to let you know that too.
So that's why, we're not gonna worry
If
about
need be.
yeah, we're not gonna worry about timing
Oh,
until we
think you're
get
lagging a little bit.
to those full lengths. Yeah.
Okay, no.
And all of that stuff will autocorrect once we get to the full length. So now I don't want you to be doing anything timed. I want you to be doing.
Ooh, you are lagging. Oh boy.
Oh, can you can you hear me?
Yeah, you're like doing a little slow-mo back there. Yeah, what did you say?
Yeah. So right now, our priority is accuracy. Um, so you know, and your practice tests will start tentatively in November. And we're going to do lots of practice tests, obviously timed. So that's when everything is going to be auto corrected because, you know, uh, like I probably said this. Did I say this to you? Like slow is smooth, smooth is fast.
No. No, I don't
Oh,
think so.
so it's like a saying. It's kind of like Navy SEAL type people who say that, but it's like if you doing something for the first time, you have to consciously think about it, which takes time. But as you practice it, you start to internalize it and it starts to become more automatic. So, but if you just started doing it fast in the first place, you don't get like it's like also like if you're riding a bike for the first time, like usually people start with training wheels. I don't know if you started with training wheels or not,
Yeah.
but why not start with no training wheels, right? Uh, because you're gonna probably just fall and you're not gonna learn. But why use training wheels? So you can learn and not fall, and then you can get to the point where you don't need it anymore, and then you can ride it without falling. It's the same idea here. For our accuracy phase, we're focused on accuracy. We're focused on like I want you to like use this strategy the way that we did it. Write out those, jot down the arguments that we wrote for each paragraph, write out the main idea, and then try to block out the passage and try the questions out. And um in Jack Weston, if you hit the solution button, like for each passage, it'll give you like a little blurb that gives you the main idea. And you can use that to check and see if your main
Mm,
idea lines up with their main idea. And, when we meet, if you want to go over like cars, we can do a new cars passage together, but let's say that you did a cars passage and you had trouble with understanding it. Um, then we can go over it together, make a new map, compare that to the map that you wrote, right?
mm.
See how that's usually how when I meet with students, like how we do that. Like I look at their map
Okay.
and then I say, okay, this is what I would adjust here, or this is what I would adjust here. And that way, and then you get to apply that to the next passages that you do. And so, yeah, so that way, so essentially use this strategy. It's going to be a bit time consuming at first, but our
Yeah.
priority is to get as much right as possible. And, with enough practice, it's just going to start to become more automatic. Like today, you already showed me from like the third paragraph or fourth paragraph right away when I asked you, like, do you see any themes? And you were like, yeah, we can learn from those who came before us. So
Mm.
that shows that you're able to like catch on to those types of things. So, but yeah, I think ultimately right now, don't worry about timing.
Sounds good. Okay. I was gonna ask, let me see. Yeah, so probably try to aim to maybe do 3 passages a day. Sounds good.
Mhm.
3 passages a day. Okay.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, do you have any other like resource I can use to just read and like get better at? And I was thinking of just going to maybe like, I don't know, ChatGPT or something and seeing if they kind of correctly sees if I assess the passage right or something. Maybe that could be a useful tool.
Um, like I don't know if they're gonna use it in uh in a way that's gonna like really like fit in with our strategy. I mean you can use it, sure, but um but I think let me see something.
Hmm.
Uh I mean, yeah, you could test your luck with that, but I mean, in my experience, like even like the MCAT tutor chat GPT, like it gets so many things wrong. So
Interesting.
yeah, and but even if gets it right, it could be like the reason that they'll give you is going to be something that's not going to be like our strategy that we're using today. They'll
Okay.
say something like, too complicated or something that's just a little too, like specific to some specific passage, paragraph or something
Mm,
like that. So
I see what you're saying. Okay. I see what you're saying.
I think that just doing the passages the way that we did today and then looking at like the solution to see if your main idea lines up because that's the most important thing. And then you can see like, okay, if you're improving, you're gonna see your main idea line up with the main idea that they have for the passages for Jack Weston, and then it's gonna be, a matter of like the question types. So, you know, we'll still see lots of different question types, but yeah, I think that, you know, compared to how you did cars before, like before, were you just kind of like reading it too quickly and then rereading?
Yeah, until the last scored one,
Yeah.
that's when things started to change a little bit. But it's too late. It was too late, man. Too
Yeah.
late.
So, okay. So yeah. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so I would say continue with this strategy um and yeah, apply it to the cars stuff that you do from now on. Um
Do you have any? Yes, I was asking, like, do you have any things like resources to just read or something, possibly? Any
uh
idea?
when you're asking me that, are you asking me like any additional like cars passages or what are you asking exactly?
I guess just reading. I think maybe reading more things could possibly be helpful just for
Just
the sake
straight
of
up.
it. Yeah.
Uh, Interestingly enough, yeah, actually, in the shared drive, I shared that drive with you, the Google Drive.
No, I don't think so. I don't. The only thing I have is the Google, the MCAT schedule.
Oh, okay, my bad. Let me share that with you here. Okay, you can see what I'm sharing.
Yeah.
So this is a shared Google Drive. I just added you to it. The PDFs folder has a lot of really useful stuff in it, like some of my own notes and lots of good stuff. Lots of different resources here. I forgot what I had for cars here, but here in I have something called soft skills, and this is from like a published paper, like literally called MCAT tips. And a big part of it is enhance your reading skills. And here it says processing information while reading is a skill which can take years to develop. The best way to strengthen this skill is by simply reading as much as possible. So I have some examples of some good reads here on this link. Periodicals are good, like the New Yorker. This is the type of stuff you're talking about, right? Like not strictly speaking cars passages, just
Yeah,
random.
just to read like what you just said there, processing. Yeah, that should that's that's a
Yep.
little slow for me.
Oh, no, it didn't seem like that way at all. You seem to be very, very have an aptitude for this. So the New Yorker, all these things, and then these books can also help. And then this link
Okay.
here. So if I look at so in this books folder, I have like a Susan Sontag reader, critical thinking thing, some history thing, psychology thing that's less so psychology and more so like cars like thing. Uh History, this one's good, like metaphors we live by. It has lots of stuff there. Theory of literature, blah blah blah. And then this resource that I have the link to has lots of good stuff for the different topics like literary arts, all these, modern life,
Mm,
gender issues,
yeah.
linguistics, aesthetics, philosophy, blah blah blah. So you can click on that and then we'll have, some nice dense reading. Uh,
Holy shit.
but
That's crazy. Okay.
yeah.
Oh, actually that's I like how you just triggered something in my brain. So like all of these
Huh?
different genres. So I'm thinking, how should I go about like practicing? Like how should I like should I just practice? Should I just randomly pick one out, or should you think? 'Cause like right now I'm kind of like I don't know where
Yeah.
which fields is kind of like a struggle. So what do you think?
Yeah, you should try all fields until you like find some type of pattern. I mean, you could even look at the AMC car stuff that you did because you did all that car stuff and that's already a lot of data.
Oh,
And that will
that's true.
show you the breakdown of like the different, literature, philosophy, economics, blah blah blah. You can take a look at that stuff to figure out what types of passages you find to be the most difficult. And in cards you could like choose the different, topics here. You could also hit study QBank now, AMC style passages, unseen, cars, and you see all these, you know, options here. So like I would start off with everything and
Mhm.
then see what if there's a pattern with the with a type of passage content area that you find to be more difficult.
Okay,
Yep.
sounds good.
Mhm.
I guess we got 15 minutes. Do you mind doing a couple of like the diagnostic CP questions? Is that okay with you?
Yeah. So I do have something at 3:30, but we could do like 10 minutes. That's
Yeah,
okay.
that's perfect. Yeah, yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Episode. Okay. This question was very confusing. I don't know how to do this.
Yeah. This is a topic called like simple machines. And
Hmm.
what it involves is so for instance, this box here that weighs 1,000 newtons
Okay.
has to move up 1 meter, right?
Yeah.
To be up here. So let's so we're gonna calculate the energy uh you know it takes to move it up 1 meter. So it's just gravitational potential energy here, right?
Hmm.
M.
And mass times gravity times height. Yeah.
Yep. And since they already gave us 1,000 newtons, that's the mg already. So it'll just be the
Yeah.
1,000 newtons times the height, which is 1 meter.
Okay.
So this is 1,000 Newton meters or, 1,000 joules, right?
Yeah. Newton meters, 1,000 joules
Yeah.
potential energy.
So now what a simple machine lets you do is it's going to conserve the same amount of energy or work, but it's going to so like if I write down like work is FD, I mean there's a cosine theta part, but force times distance, right?
Yeah.
If the work can't change, what we can do is we can raise the distance, which would subsequently lower the force that you need to apply. So,
Okay.
for instance, you need 1,000 newtons of force to lift this box up 1 meter. Okay. But now let's use the ramp. The ramp is 5 meters. So we still have our 1,000 joules. And this time it'll be, a new force times a new distance, which is now 5. So if I solve for force here, so this is going to be 5 meters times force. I could divide the 5 on both sides to get um, 200 newtons is the force, right? So
Okay.
what this means is if I so the simple machines examples are ramps, like inclined planes, pulleys,
Mhm.
like hydraulic presses, levers. things like that. And what they all do is they there's always going to be conservation of energy, so energy won't change, work won't change, but since work is force times distance and force is the force that you apply, if you simply raise the distance, since work has to be constant, the force that you apply must go down. What that means is if you didn't have the ramp, it would take 1,000 newtons of force for you to lift this box up 1 meter. But if you had
Right.
the ramp, you would only need to input 200 newtons of force.
Okay, I get that idea. That makes sense. But for in this case,
Yep.
just to recap, the reason why we can relate work to like this potential energy is just because of the fact that like no matter what you do, you're always going to need 1,000 joules of energy to push it up a meter. That's why
So,
we can relate it back to the work.
so the work energy theorem is what that comes from. And, in physics, the definition of energy is the ability to do work. So
Mm,
you can equate work and energy uh, most of the time. That's called the work energy theorem. So
gotcha.
yeah. So
Yes, because the thing is when I at least from the past when I went over that, it was always work is always equal to the change in kinetic energy. But I guess I never thought about the fact that it could be also potential energy because it's in terms of energy and not just KE.
uh
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah, and you can calculate something called a mechanical advantage. And so it could be force output over force input. Force output is 1,000 newtons, force input is 200 newtons. So this is a mechanical advantage of 5. You could also do distance input 5 meters, distance output 1 meter, which is also equal to 5. That's mechanical advantage. So it means that if you're using this ramp, this inclined plane, the force that you apply gets multiplied by a factor of 5. So
Mm,
if you apply 200 newtons, it's going to come out as 1,000 newtons. So we're essentially just taking advantage of the distance to, you know, give us give ourselves a mechanical advantage. So we don't have to put in as much force.
okay, sounds good. Sounds good. All right, I think we can stop there. Yeah, I think we
Yep.
can stop there. And I know you said this earlier. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I forgot this again. So again, section banks just stick to volume one, right? Just stick to volume one.
Yeah, for now, let's stick to volume one.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
All right.
I'll Venmo you the cash. Give me one moment.
Mm-hmm.
That would be 150.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, I just sent it.
Okay.
Oh, do you mind also adding? I was gonna add your number too. I forgot to put it last time. So what's your number?
Oh yeah. Here, I'll put it in the chat.
I'll take a screenshot. Add it there. All right, man. Were you able to get it?
Uh, uh, I got it.
Awesome. Of
Thank you. So
course.
next time, uh, you're just going to use my Calendly to schedule.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I'll do. I'll put that. And in case anything happens, I'll just send you an email to cancel if anything.
All right, awesome. Yeah, you did great today, and yeah, this is gonna really, subpar score. So keep up the good work, okay?
Awesome, man. All right, I'll see you next class.
Take care. See ya.